Liana.
Hello, I'm Ellen. We heard you're interested in volunteering.
Yeah, you are. So let's get into it.
Okay, so we're going to go through the different volunteer opportunities that are available at Santropol Roulant. So in the middle here, these green circles are really the program areas at the heart of what we do, where we need people's help with things. The very first thing we want to talk about is also probably the one that you've heard about. It's our Meals on Wheels program. As a Meals on Wheels volunteer, there are two different things you can help with. The first one is meal delivery, so taking warm meals to people living with a loss of autonomy, either by foot, by bike, by car, or by public transit. And the second thing you can do is help us out in the kitchen. So the Meals on Wheels program works, it runs 5 days a week, so every day except for Thursday and Sunday. And each day we have, in the morning, a kitchen shift where you help to prepare the meal of the day. In the afternoon, another kitchen shift where you have to package the meals. And then at the end of the day, at 2:45, volunteers come in, take those meals that have been prepared, put them in backpacks, and take them out around the city. So we need lots and lots of volunteers to help with Meals on Wheels. If that is something that interests you, it's a really interesting way to get to know your city in a different way. That's a knife. The second program that we can tell you about is the agriculture program. So there are two parts of our agriculture program. One is here in the city, and one is outside of the city. So outside of the city in Sandville in the West Island, we have our own organic farm. The farm shifts vary from season to season, but at least a few days a week we have volunteers going out to the farm to help our farmers grow beautiful organic vegetables. Those vegetables then get used both in our meals and also in our organic baskets that get shared with the community. We also have agriculture here in the city. So above our heads right now, we have a green roof on our office space, which is a beautiful garden. There's also a garden outside on our terrace where we have lots of different things growing. And normally we have gardens out in front as well called the terrace bois. Right now that space is going to be under construction soon, so they're not running. But suffice to say that there's lots of volunteering in agriculture in the city. So if you like to garden, we also need your help. We also have programs where we try to use and not waste the food that comes from the farm and from other sources as well. So the two kinds of shifts that we have there are food preservation and food cycle. Food preservation, we take things both from the farm and from one of our collectives that we'll talk about later, and we turn them into jams and jellies and grape juice and things. And then we also have food cycle, which is where we take things from the farm. For example, if we have a lot of extra tomatoes, we might make tomato sauce. If we have a lot of basil, we might make pesto. And we try to keep things and freeze them so that we can use them all the way through the winter so that we're really using the food that we grow. The final program is the events that we do. So we have events that we do, first of all, for the clients of our Meals on Wheels program. Those events include usually an outing to the Sugar Shack, a holiday meal, a picnic in the summertime, and also an outing to an apple orchard, often in the fall. At those kinds of events, we need people to help us, mostly with being buddies to our clients. So you'll go pick up a client at their home, bring them to the event, and then you just sort of hang out with them and get to know them all day. It's a really nice way to get to know our clients much more deeply than you do on deliveries. Then we also do events for the rest of the community. So we sometimes do fundraisers, we sometimes do other community events where we invite everyone to just come and celebrate with us. So for example, every summer we do something called the Fermier, which is our big open doors event. We invite the whole city to come and party with us, basically. We have music and dancing and food, and our baskets are out there, and there's kids' activities, and there's a little show, and there are tours of the space. It's very lovely. It's a lot of fun. And for all of these events, we need help with decorating. We need help with setup. We need help with people making food sometimes, people serving food. We also need folks to go and pick up clients and bring them to those events. So lots of space there for different kinds of, different ways of getting involved with us. So all of this stuff is sort of central programming to the Roulant. Then the 5 blue circles around here are our collectives. So the collectives are kind of like smaller NGOs that use space and resources, and there's sort of a flow of resources and support between us and them. The first one that I will talk about is...
Let's talk about Fruits Défendus.
Let's talk about Fruits Défendus. So they are a very neat collective. They're basically an urban fruit harvesting collective. So the whole purpose of this group is to avoid food waste in the city. So there are lots of fruit trees all around us that aren't actually getting harvested. So this collective, this group of volunteers, will go and talk to a fruit tree owner and say, hey, we can do the harvest of your fruits. We'll give you 1/3 of what we collect. We'll keep 1/3 for the volunteers, and then we'll give 1/3 to an organization, often Santropol Roulant, but sometimes other places as well. And then we use those to make jams and jellies and such in the food preservation. The next collective that I would talk about would be Santropol Roulant. So that's our community bike workshop. It grew out of the volunteers for the Meals on Wheels doing deliveries on bikes and needing a place to change a tire or find a spare part. And now it is a community bike shop that is open to anybody. So if you want to come and learn how to fix your own bike, you are very welcome. And if you are an amateur mechanic and you want to help people fix their own bikes, you can also come and help with that. The next thing that I would talk about is the vermicompost collective. So down in our basement, there's a room with these big boxes that are filled with worms. And the worms are helping us to try and create a more complete food cycle. So we take food that comes from, let's say, our garden up top. We use it in the kitchen, and then whatever bits are left over that we can't use, we give them to the worms. The worms create dirt, and then we put it back up in the garden. So we do our best to make it be as complete a cycle as possible, although we're obviously not perfect. There's also something else that lives in our basement, which is mushrooms. So we have another collective called the Mi Collective, or the My Collective. They are growing mushrooms in the basement. The idea behind that is that in the summertime we produce a lot of our own food because the farm makes lots of beautiful vegetables. But in the wintertime we can't so much because we don't have greenhouse space for that. But you can grow mushrooms all year long. So the My Collective is learning how to grow mushrooms in our basement with the idea that we could use them in the Meals on Wheels meals. And then the final collective is another thing that lives with us here in our space, but actually on the roof. We have bees. So there are beehives upstairs, and there's a collective that takes care of the bees. And they hang out with our flowers, and they're a great part of our office space. There's one more little bubble in the corner here, which is basically for any other stuff that you know how to do. We know that volunteers come to us with lots of previous experience and different kinds of talents. So whether you are a musician, a photographer, a translator, a woodworker, a graphic designer, if you really like doing data entry, if you're good with your hands. Honestly, we're always doing interesting projects here, and we would love to have your help with any or all of them. So yeah, we try to make sure that we have space to use people's special talents, and if you have some, we would love to know about that. One thing that's important to note, all of the stuff in green is really stuff that happens here at Santropol Roulant, and we will talk more about that during the info session. All of the things around the edge in blue here are the collectives, and they manage their own recruitment process. So if you're interested in doing urban fruit harvesting, or growing mushrooms, or hanging it with bees, whatever, go on our website on the page that says collectives, and each of them has an email address or phone number so you can contact them directly. But in any case, this is a good summary of what's going on here, and there are lots and lots of different ways to get involved.